I've
something.
had people not want to be in relationships with me because how would they go and tell their mom or their dad that
That
they're
their
dating a
girlfriend is a
bartender?
Welcome back again to another episode of Resilience. Resilience is a project which aims to tell the story of Nigerian youths who are entrepreneurs, creatives, and business owners. So, for this episode, I have here with me the amazing Rainer Chiazoka. She's a bartender, she's a mixologist, and she's so much more.
Hi everybody, I'm so
Hi.
happy to be here. I'm so glad to be here. I'm really
Yeah.
honored. My name is Chiazoka Rainer. My surname is Erondu. I'm a young Nigerian youth who basically just fell in love with mixology, decided to make a business out of it while creating content on Instagram, sharing beverage education. I'm basically just filling the gap in the knowledge that people are supposed to have basically on
Awesome,
drinks.
awesome.
Yeah,
A round of applause.
thank you.
So, how long have you been in the, will I call it the bartending niche or the mixologist niche?
I mean, you can say both.
Okay,
Yeah.
so how long have you been in this industry?
So I found bartending in 2020 during
Okay,
the pandemic. So it's safe to say that it's been about 4 years. Yeah,
wow.
almost half a decade.
Congrats.
Thank you.
So, how did you find bartending? Why bartending? Why mixology?
That's a very interesting question. So I would say that in
Mm-hmm.
2020 I by 2020 rather I was already working in hospitality, right? I was working in food and beverage, but I wasn't sure what exactly I wanted to go into.
Okay.
And so I found an opportunity where they were looking for bartenders to come and work. You didn't have to have experience. They were going to train us and then give us the job. So what they did was that they only trained us for the restaurant where we're going to be working, where we're going to be serving. But as
Okay.
time went on and I, kept on working at the restaurants, people would come and ask for drinks that weren't necessarily on the menu. And so it made me very curious to start to find out information and say, oh, this person said they want an old fashioned. What does that mean? Right? So just going down the rabbit hole of understanding drinks, trying to find answers was where I discovered the thoughts, intentionality, meticulousness that goes into
Is it,
bartending.
but take us back.
Hmm.
What did you study in the university?
I studied public administration and political science, so basically
Mm,
politics.
okay, but as a bartender, you
Hmm.
like public administration is serving the public. Am I right?
It
So
is
in a way, as a mixologist, you are also
not you
serving the
saying
public,
that.
right? So in a way, it kind of correlates.
Well,
I
I
asked
guess you can say that.
because let me just say like 60% of the youths don't end up working in the field that they studied
That's for
in
sure.
school, especially people who are creatives or
Mm-hmm.
business owners.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so moving on, you've been a bartender for 4 years, and in every field there are challenges.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us, what is your top two challenges that you faced? The
As a
biggest challenge
bartender.
as a young female, a Nigerian
Mm-hmm.
female bartender who is young.
So there's so many challenges, but you asked me for two.
Yes.
So I'll just say two. I think the first one is that a lot of times people already assume that you're not capable
Hmm.
just because you're female,
Wow.
right? I experienced that a lot while I was working behind the bar. I would, walk up to a table and I'm trying to take a man's order and he's like, tell the bartender to make it strong.
But you are the
Exactly. So I'm
bartender.
like, I'm the bartender. And he's like, are you sure you can make it strong?
Gosh.
So Nigerians always have that mindset that female bartenders are not as capable as male bartenders, and I don't think that that's accurate. Not at all, because I know
It's
so
not.
many
It's not
amazing female
accurate.
bartenders. I think that something else that's always also been a challenge for me has been that oftentimes people have again a narrative about female bartenders that they are promiscuous or they work behind the bar to get men, and I think that that's also a very false narrative. It's very difficult for you to work behind the bar and make a genuine connection with someone,
Hmm.
right? Form a friendship. They already have like a preconceived notion about you and what you probably might be after. I think that those are the challenges. And
Job too.
going back to the first, because a lot of times people don't think of female bartenders as capable, you don't have access to as much opportunities, right?
Wow.
So it's either that brands don't believe that you can do, the work that you say that you can do, or people don't trust you enough to say, come and bartend my private party. All of that doesn't just end in the workplace, it follows you outside.
But on capability,
Hmm.
I think over time your work would speak for itself
That's for sure.
based on reviews and what they've seen you do.
Hmm.
So
I
probably
agree.
it's also the number of years, because 4 years you're not so new, but you're still fairly new. So probably that's also a reason.
That's why it's also important as a female bartender that you're outspoken about the work that you do,
Right.
about your abilities, the
Chiazoka
things
is
that you
actually
know.
very outspoken about what
The
she does.
world will always favor the person who is the loudest in the room,
Yes.
not even the person who is most capable.
Word.
And a lot of time, people who are capable do not really know how to be loud about. The
Mm,
people who are loudest are the people who don't know as much, who are mediocre. That's what you
right.
see in today's world. So to have someone who knows exactly what they are doing and is also loud is something that we need more of. And I try to be as loud as possible. I wasn't always loud about the things I was doing. I've been bartending for like almost half a decade, and I didn't get to 10K followers and creating content
Yeah.
consistently until last year and even early this year. So it's
Congrats.
always been a thank you so much. It's always been a struggle trying to shine my light and make my
Yes,
voice
and
be
also
heard.
another thing I've noticed is everyone is not going to agree with everything that you say
That's for
or your
sure.
point of view. So you need to be okay with not
Having opposition on social
right.
media, having a thick skin is so important because they're going to come after you
It's
for speaking the
necessary.
truth.
It's
And
really necessary because everybody has different perspective. So not everyone is going to agree with you. And some people just don't like you. They just want to disagree
they
with
just
you.
don't like your face. Some people don't even also like the fact that you're female and you're well spoken and you know exactly what you're doing.
Right.
So for different reasons, people will come at you.
So Reina, as much as there are challenges as a bartender, a female bartender, there are also high moments. There are also best moments, right? So share with us two of your favorite moments being a bartender, moments that made you feel like, okay, yes, I'm on the right path.
I think for me, one memory that stood out was sometime in 2022 when I used to work at Hilton,
Okay.
Transcorp Hilton. I had been at the bar for a few months at this time because Transcorp had like multiple bars. So at this
Okay.
particular bar, I'd been there for like maybe almost 4 months. And there were these group of men, white men, who had come to the bar regularly.
Okay.
And I remember on this very random day in like the evening, this man says to me, I like when you give me draft beer because at Transcorp, one of the things that was on the menu was draft beer. And
Okay.
he was like, "You're just as good as these men. Like, don't ever stop, don't ever quit. Like, I
Right.
see you and I watch you all the time."
Oh, that's
That was
nice.
the most random thing. I wasn't
Right.
expecting it from him. I never thought that he would
And
even
for
give
someone
me
who
a
doesn't know you,
compliment.
it's so
Exactly.
sincere.
Yes. Like he literally said that to me. He was like, "You're just as good as the guys, if not better. So keep doing what you do. You have an
Woo!
amazing attitude. You're never upset. I can see that you're happy to be here." That made my day. I think the second memory of something that stood out to me was in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
I had entered in for a competition that my friend shared with me. It was
Okay.
for Declan Wine. And I put in a video very last minute. I had help from some of my friends who worked in the kitchen. They were chefs and they were like, "Oh, you can do it." We did like 2 takes. I posted the video and I won 100K, like
Wow.
300K, like that.
That's so nice.
So that even encouraged me more. Like, I've
Yes.
been bartending for like 1 year at this point. I also
And
had thoughts of should
mm-hmm.
I continue, should I give up? So to see that I won that competition online was very encouraging for me. Another thing was when Opeyemi Pamaki reached out to me and told me that he loves my content, he wants us
Oh,
to collaborate. My niche is unique. So
yeah,
those are like
exactly. Your niche
key
is very
key
unique.
moments for me that just warm my heart
Even
anytime I think about it.
the first time that I saw Reina's page, I was really like, wow, like this is different. It's
It
very
is.
unique. Hardly for content creators, you can see people in lifestyle, in fashion, but to see a female bartender or mixologist in Nigeria, it's actually hard. Very, 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 very few of them.
Yes,
Very
I'm
few.
blushing.
And like she said, she had been doing it for a while before everything started to fall into place. So if you start something new, it may not make sense immediately, but you just have to keep going,
For sure.
right?
I definitely
And
agree.
as you were speaking, you talked about patience. So that will lead me to another question. What are some of the qualities that you feel is necessary for you to be a bartender? Some qualities you have to have. I know patience is like up there.
Yes, you have to have good customer service. You have to be someone who's not quick to anger. I think that that's very important, especially if you work as a bartender in Nigeria. I think generally everywhere in the world, because there's people who would upset you, speak to you anyhow. You don't want to be that person who lashes out at a guest or at a customer. I think something else that's also important is the ability to multitask,
Right.
right? Make two drinks at the same time, make four drinks at the same time. That's very important. You also need to be very fast. People underestimate the power of speed when it comes to bartending, and that's why we have complaints like my drink took so long to come because people don't understand, especially when you work in food and beverage or hospitality. It's very sensitive because people who walk into the restaurant, they're either hungry or thirsty.
Right.
So you don't have the, it's not a boutique like where people come to shop. You don't have the luxury of just walking around and taking your time. If someone places an order, they're placing an order because they want a drink. So you
Right.
have to work fast. If 10 people place an order for drinks at the same time, they're placing an order for drinks because they all want drinks at the same time. So you have to have that at the back of your mind that there's somebody hungry or thirsty behind waiting for me. I can't just take my time.
Right.
So speed is also very important and an underrated quality. So I think speed, being able to multitask and having good customer service
Customer
or just a
service.
generally pleasant attitude. Yes, I think those are
Right. But
awesome
as
qualities.
nice as you are, you would also encounter customers that are just difficult for no
I
reason.
agree.
So how do you deal with that when a customer is being unnecessarily difficult?
So I think that that's where teamwork comes in.
Okay.
Because if you work in hospitality, of course, on the shift or whatever it is that you're working on, you're encountering this customer. You're not the only person there.
Right.
So usually they would encourage us to just hand the table over to somebody else, right? So if I was serving a table and the customer made me upset, and I don't feel like I can continue serving, I'll just hand the tab over to a colleague and say,
Okay.
this is what I've given them, this is what I've served, please take over. Or the person sitting down by the bar, I'll just tell my colleague like this is their tab, it's open. I'm not talking to him, I'm not attending to him, or I'm not talking to her. Just follow up from where I stopped. Sometimes as well, you have colleagues who don't want to continue from where you stop. They don't want wahala.
Right.
So at that moment, you just have to learn to just put your emotions aside. Basically,
Yeah.
I think
So
that that's even the
generally
perfect.
in business, you really need to put your
Just put
emotions
your
aside
emotions
when
aside,
dealing with. Because if
whether
you're
you're upset.
emotional, you can overreact.
Mm-hmm.
Can even make a mistake. And so it's
Sometimes too, you have to understand that that customer is probably upset or having an attitude simply because they are hungry, or
right.
simply because they are thirsty, or simply because they've just had a bad day, right? So sometimes even when it's upsetting for you, even as a female, I'm even more conscious when I'm working behind the bar and I'm, for example, ovulating. I know
Okay.
that I'm easily irritated.
Yeah.
So I already know, I have foresight. I know the things that are going to trigger me. I know how to remove myself from such situations. So just generally just being kind to people and making excuses for them helps. Other times, if you know you can't, just move them over to your colleague. That always works.
So the thing about starting new things is that you are bound to make mistakes. And as the years go by, you look back and say, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that, or maybe I shouldn't have done this, or probably I should have acted or reacted differently in this situation. So now let's pretend that you're starting all over again today with the knowledge that you've had in the past 4 years. What are some of the things you did when you started that you do differently if you're starting now?
Hmm. That's a tough question because I've never thought about that. But I think that um, irrespective of how my journey has been, I never went to like a professional bartending school.
Okay.
Most of the things I know I learned on my own, but I wouldn't say that I'm self-taught, right?
Because you
Because
learned on the job too.
exactly, I read books, I watched videos, so I would say that those people are responsible for my journey and
Right.
how far I've come. But I think that if I was going to start all over again, I would get a bartending mentor,
Okay.
somebody internationally, locally, anywhere who basically just guides me so that I don't waste as much time. Because
Okay.
if I wasn't learning on my own and I had like as much guidance as I would have loved, I think I would have made a lot more progress than I
By
have
now.
here. So I think I spent so much time trying to figure stuff out on my own, watched YouTube videos. YouTube videos didn't answer some of my questions, so I went to books. Books couldn't answer some of my questions, so I went to courses. So I think that just having a guide and writing and sending emails to bartenders on social media who I absolutely adore and I think are amazing, just asking for guidance and access to them, I
Yeah.
think that would have made a whole lot of difference for me. So yeah, that's something that if I could change, I would have gotten a mentor for
Okay.
sure.
It's never too late.
Never too late. Never, absolutely.
So for other Nigerian youths who are watching, who would like to, because this is a very unique and it's still like a small niche. What advice would you give to them for those who are thinking of becoming bartenders or probably considering they could be mixologists or they could be bartenders, both females and males now? What advice would you give to them?
I would say that you should have a lot of patience and love for the craft.
Right.
Bartending genuinely was fascinating for me.
Okay.
So I didn't mind, telling my dad that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, whether he supports me or not, because I genuinely loved, like when I read in books, I could see, you know, through the lens of the writer and say, wow, I can't believe that you gave your whole life to studying this,
Wow.
understanding this. Like it was truly amazing to me. I thought of it as honorable. I thought of it as an honorable craft. So I want you to, if you're, someone thinking about going to bartending, just be very patient, be willing to learn because there's a lot of information out there. You take courses and not every course is going to be in depth. They're going to teach you sometimes the basics and somebody else gives you another course and they're going more in depth than one other course. So
So learning never ends.
basically there's just always something. If you follow, there's this website called Punch Drink. They have like bartenders all over the world are coming up with new inventions. There's always something new to learn. There's always a new method. There's always a new technique. So you just have to be patient and really excited about the craft
Yeah,
to
you need
just
to love what
continue.
you do. It's
Exactly. I think
easier
that
to do it
that's
if you actually love it, rather than when you're in it just for the money or the
or
fame
the
or
fame or the uniqueness.
right
Sometimes
the
as well,
attention.
bartending isn't always glamorous and fancy. Like people will not always look at you and think, "Oh, you're so cool."
Sometimes they may even look down on you
Exactly. So I've even had
because they see
people.
you like the server or
I've
something.
had people not want to be in relationships with me because how would they go and tell their mom or their dad that
That
they're
your
dating a
girlfriend is a
bartender? Exactly.
bartender.
So a lot of time people don't understand it. So it's going to be a very, very lonely road, but you have to be very
It's
excited
lonely
and
when
you
you're
have to be
starting because by the time you make it, everybody's going to want to come around. And
especially in Nigeria where nobody has really gone ahead of us to like
yes,
pave the way,
you're
where they
right.
now see bartending as
I can't even think
honorable.
of any famous person that I know here that's like a bartender, a female
Exactly,
bartender that
exactly.
is
So you only just
popular.
have chefs.
Right.
There's Chef Freg's, there's Chef
Yes.
this. So being a
But
chef is deemed as more prestigious. Nobody really cares about bartenders. They just think of them as some
it's such a
uneducated bunch of
nice
people.
niche. Honestly,
It
it's a very
is.
nice
I
niche.
think bartending is fun. It is adventurous, spontaneous. It's just the world of bartending is just it never ends. The
Yeah.
possibilities are endless. It's really exciting for me. I love it so much, man. I don't
You
even
can see
think
the passion in her eye.
I don't even know what my life would be if I wasn't like reading about drinks in books or like watching videos or like teaching people. Like I
You'll
don't
be
know
a
what.
public admin officer.
No, I don't think I would be. I don't think I would be. So yeah, really excited. So you have to be very excited and just willing to learn because there's a lot of information out there. Journey never ends. So you're old, you're always going to be learning.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to mixology now, um so explain to us, mixology is all about mixing different spirits and
Hmm.
right.
So not necessarily. So there's a difference between mixology and bartending, right?
Okay.
So the bartender basically just executes, mixes the drinks, looks at the recipe, 20 mils of this, 20 mils of that, shake it
Shakes it,
together, exactly,
pours
serve
it in the
it.
cup.
So mixology is a lot more in depth because mixology is basically the science of flavor
Okay.
pairing. You need knowledge or to know, oh, does chocolate and orange go together? Should I put them together? How do I merge all these ingredients together and still have a balanced drink that's not too sweet, not too sour? It's just a perfect balance between sweet and sour. A drink that's not too spicy, not too salty. It's just a perfect balance between. So the mixologist basically does all the brain work and then makes the recipe, and the bartender just executes that recipe. Right. So, and
Okay.
also a mixologist comes up with new creations because they understand the foundation of drinks, things that we call cocktail families. Right. Cocktail families are basically born from the idea that every drink in the world belongs to a family. Right. So they have a template. It's just that those templates are taken and modified into different cocktails. So if you swap out malt for Amstel malt for Guinness, we have a cocktail and call it one name. If you
Okay.
swap out this for this, but they all have the same base, yes. So a mixologist understands that all cocktails fall into six families, and they're able to understand that. A bartender doesn't necessarily know
You need
that.
to know that.
Yes, he just needs to know, oh, this is how you make an old fashioned, and he makes it. Oh, this is how you make a Long Island, and he makes it. He doesn't really know usually about the science of it. Yeah, so mixology, science of drinks, bartending, execution of the science of drinks. So that's in layman terms.
Who is the layman here?
In summary, yeah. So that's it.
Okay, so you're both. You do
Hmm.
both.
I am a bartender striving to be a
A
mixologist.
mixologist.
Yes.
Yeah, because
So
I was about to ask you
I
if you
would
have your
say,
own recipes.
yes, I do. I would
Mm.
say that I have more than basic knowledge of
Okay.
drinks. I have a very good knowledge on the science of drinks. Yeah.
Okay, so as a bartender now, how much alcohol do you consume in a week?
Hmm. Me or the people who I serve?
You as a
Oh, not a
bartender.
lot, not a lot. I think that people are always very disappointed when they hear that I don't drink a lot. And also because I create drink content on social
Mm-hmm.
media, people also assume that every drink I make on social media, I
You
drink all of
consume
it.
it.
Sometimes I don't. Sometimes you're sick and you're on medication, you can't drink alcohol. You can only take sips. Sometimes you can't even take sips. You just show them this is how you can make this recipe at home, and then let them go and do what they want to do. But I don't drink a lot of alcohol. I only drink alcohol when I have to,
Okay.
right? So if I make drinks, for example, I drink alcohol. If I am at an event and I'm private bartending, I make samples, make margaritas, daiquiris, all of those, and I have to taste and know, this is what I should change in this recipe,
Right.
and then have the perfect thing and then serve all night.
But bartending is two things. It's cocktails and it's mocktails. But most often when they say bartending, people only focus on the cocktail
Cocktails.
part and forget that. But so can you be a bartender that only does mocktails?
Yes, you absolutely can.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
you
nice.
absolutely can. But I think that um if you want to be a bartender who focuses on only mocktails, a lot of your knowledge has to stem from cocktails, right? Because
Okay.
the science of drinks, a lot of work has been done when it comes to cocktails. So having in-depth knowledge on cocktails gives
Yes.
you a soft landing if you want to focus only on mocktails. Does that
Okay.
make sense? Instead of just going directly
So
to
you need to learn
mocktails.
cocktails before you can now specialize in
Exactly. You have to have
mocktails.
a very in-depth
Exactly.
knowledge
I
on
know that some people,
cocktails.
for religious or personal beliefs, they
Don't
don't.
drink alcohol
Yes.
for sure, for sure. So now when you see people who don't have an in-depth knowledge of cocktails and you see them making mocktails, the recipe is basically just juice and fruits.
So what's the difference between juice, fruits, and mocktails?
So now, mocktails are, I would like to think of them as more than just juice, right? They are more intentional. There's a lot of intelligence that goes into it. Like if I mixed orange juice, pineapple juice, this one juice, and mix them together, a layman can call that a mocktail. But someone who knows and has an in-depth knowledge of cocktails will now come and say,
It's
oh,
a
let's
fruit
take
juice.
strawberries and
Okay.
put them in vinegar and ferment them for 2 weeks and
Okay.
take a little of that, let's put pineapples on the fire and grill them and juice them. We now have not just pineapple juice, we have grilled pineapple juice. Because when we grill pineapples, this is the flavor that it gives. So you see that there's
So
difference.
it's
And it,
it's actually a lot of crafts. Almost like you might as well be a chef, but a drink chef.
exactly. So it's mixology and bartending is just basically the way chef is to food is basically how you
Yes.
are to drinks. So there's a lot of work that goes into it, a lot of intentionality, intelligence that goes into it. Hi everyone, I'm Chiazoka Rainer. I'm a creative and an entrepreneur. Thank you guys so much for tuning into my episode on resilience. I had such an amazing time. I hope you guys were able to learn stuff and hear my story. It was an honor to be here. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode. Mwah! I'm a Nigerian youth. I'm a creative and an entrepreneur, and I'm resilient.